All right. Everybody ready? Good afternoon, everyone. It is now 1 p.m. and I'm opening the this meeting of the Platting Board. Please, roll call. I can't even.
Plotting member Liebing,
Present.
plotting member Gilson,
Present.
plotting member Traxler,
Present.
and plotting member McBride.
Present.
Plotting members that are absent and excused today is plotting member Salmon and plotting member Shivetta. We have 2 vacancies for our District 6 and District 7 seats. Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Can we stand for the pledge? Can I get a motion to approve today's agenda?
Madam Chair, I move we approve today's agenda.
Thank you very much. Can I get a second?
I second.
Thank you, Carla. So is there any objections to the approval of the agenda or any changes? Seeing none, the agenda has been approved. So do we have persons to be heard for items not scheduled for public hearing today? Yes. Yes, no, can she speak right now? No. Seeing none, the item of business today is Resolution 26-01, a resolution of the Matanuska-Susitna Borough Platting Board recommending approval of an ordinance amending Chapter 43.20 subdivision development standards to allow lots to be reduced to 30,000 square feet within single-family residential land use districts. Mr. Liebing.
Madam Chair, as I understand it, we have a motion on the table that was postponed from the last meeting to this, but I would like to move to allow members of the public to speak on, even though technically the public hearing was closed last meeting.
Can I get a second for that motion?
Second.
Any objections? Motion has been approved. So she can. Would anyone from the public like to make comment? Ms. Krieger.
My name is Sandra Krieger, and I've been reading through this resolution and would like to add a few items to the ordinance. I would like to see also on the plats that a relocation area for future septic systems and future water well systems be put on the plat. Just designating septic systems failed, this, that, and the other. If there's not enough room on these lots to move that, that is a huge undertaking to dig up a abandoned leach field and tanks. I think if we had enough space on the plat, that then we can say, okay, yes, your septic system failed, and now it also has to get moved into this area on the plat from the very beginning. Also, wells tend to do what wells do, and sometimes they have to get moved. And if there's an empty lot next to someone, that needs to get recorded where that well, the area at which that well can be moved to. So I'd like to see those added to the ordinance. Also, I feel that 130-foot road frontage should be required. The code states that we have a 60-foot road frontage minimum, which creates a long, narrow lot and makes it very hard to relocate these septic systems in the future. They usually end up either having to be dug up or placed even farther back on the lot. Most people don't use their entire lot, but if you have to relocate that septic, it can end up in the boonies. And just the way septics are designed, I think that if we can square up these lots, a 30,000 square foot lot with 130-foot road frontage is still 230 feet deep. I think going with a square design versus a rectangular design is going to leave opportunities for future growth. I'd also like to see these plats have an open area for stumps that I'm not sure what the number exactly would be, but for example, provide one 30,000 square foot lot for open area intended for a stump dump. I know they've got a name for it. Per every 20 lots, something like that. So that we can get stumps off these lots, and that will open the relocation area for any future bumps and stuff. I do like a higher dense neighborhood. I just think we need to be a little more picky on the plat so that we're not just planning for that day, but for the next 30, 40, 50 years of what can happen to wells and septics. That's all.
Thank you, Sandra.
You're welcome.
Anybody else from the public like to testify? Hello.
Good morning. Oh, gotcha. Probably raise it too. My name is Chuck Lee. I'm president and owner of Alaska Rim Engineering. And I'm kind of interested in this because we've talked about this before in my tenure at Alaska Rim. There's already a provision in the code that allows for a 30-acre lot. And that's if you want to give a portion of your land as a open space. Doesn't seem like it gets used very often, but what I'm seeing here with this piece of legislation is that somebody wants to reduce their lot size so they can get more lots, which is a 25% increase for a developer. And I'm asking, what do we as the public get out of that? Well, some things we get out of it. I can speak on both sides of this story, and I will, because ultimately it's going to be your decision. But I want you to know some of the things. First of all, when you increase the density, you also are increasing the nitrates that come from our septic systems. Nitrates are on the rise. How do I know this? I own 3 public utilities, serve water. So the developer already has a means to increase, and 2 of those are they can install a community sewer line, or they can put in community water. I am the benefit of 3 of those type of subdivisions. The other thing is now you want to talk about putting circles and squares on a plat. Who's going to enforce this? Is DEC going to enforce this? No way. Are you guys going to enforce it? I say you as the borough, is the Matsu Borough going to enforce it? I don't think they will be able to do so. As previously mentioned, what happens if somebody drills their, let me back up. I don't want my driveway on this side of I want it on this side. Well, you can't because that's where the well's going to be. And they put the well on where they want it. Now that messes up the whole configuration. Don't think this is really a best way to densify property. Now, if you want to densify property, it costs a little more, but no one really wants to spend more money. And that is you could put advanced treatment with denitrification. Solves the problem. You could probably go down to a 20-acre lot with advanced treatment because you're using some form. Again, though, how do you get, the Matsu Borough and the state don't really have a mechanism to enforce that or oversee it. Now, our people to the south, municipality of Anchorage, they do, but we're not the Matsu Borough, and I've been in that conversation before, and it gets kind of ugly when you start mentioning people on the other side of the bridge. So I'm not going to basically say that you should do one or the other, but I think you need to think about what you're stepping into, the long-term effects. At Alaska Rim, we've done a lot of these it's the high 4 lots on 4 houses on 1 lot. Detached fourplexes. Done a lot of those. And when you do a detached fourplex, you are putting a lot of nitrates on a small acre. And the thing is, you drill in a well for those 4 people, they're getting most of their own nitrates. You'd like to have a little more treatment. Again, back to advanced treatment, but again, it's hard to regulate advanced treatment outside of the municipality, just because we just don't have those codes. And no one politically really wants to go down that path. I've seen over the years, we basically do not, I've seen the enforcement arm of ADEC kind of chopped off. They really don't do any enforcements for the septic systems or for the water. It's the water, they get a little bit of help because of EPA, the way they fund it. But that's my thoughts. And like I said, you already have this in the code, so why, is this somebody just wanting a freebie? And that's what I'm kind of getting the feeling that, and I've worked with a lot of a lot of developers, so I kind of do know something about this. So I don't know, I probably spent over 3 minutes, but I do, if you have questions, I'd just certainly like to answer them. I'm not all knowing, just so you know. I'm not the Wizard of Oz.
Any questions?
I'd like to ask a couple of questions, just because obviously you have expertise in this. If you have a 10,000 square foot zone delineated for a septic,
Right.
how much of that 10,000 is typically used by the septic system?
Well, depends on the number of people you're putting on, a number of bedrooms.
Okay.
Typical home, 3-4 bedrooms. It's going to be about 400 square feet to 600. That's assuming you have good soils.
Mm-hmm.
If you have terrible soils, you're going to increase that probably by a factor of 2.
Okay.
I remember I was part of the decision to make the 10,000, and I'd like to say that I remember everything that we discussed during that, but it was a number that was figured that we could put 2 septic systems in that space.
Okay. All right.
I'd like to add that at the beginning of a project, that's pretty easy to do.
Yeah.
But once you decide that you're putting your places for toys, and you've also now put a playground in your backyard, you now have just increased potential costs for okay, where are we going to find it? And then if we have a smaller lot, it's going to even be more so.
Yeah. So there is some flexibility within that 10,000 to move it, but affected by many other
There
potential
are,
things.
yeah.
Thank
yeah,
you. That was
every, I do a lot of septic replacements in Anchorage, and it's always a challenge.
yeah.
So, and that's sometimes why we use advanced treatment. I have a site, it was a substandard lot in the Peters Creek area where they had squeezed every bit of, they've had 2 septic systems, but the well radius pretty much annihilated anything left. So we advanced treatment. Advanced treatment is somewhere between $30,000 and $60,000.
Okay.
So,
Thank you for answering my question.
anyone else?
What
Thank-
is advanced, no,
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
what is advanced treatment? What is it?
There's a lot of different types of advanced treatment. The one that I tend to use is sold by Anchorage Tank and Welding. It's called Advantex. It's basically they're all in one is a tank, and then it recycles the effluent that comes out of your second compartment through a bunch of filters. And it gets recycled, and it just recycles, and every so often it will shoot out, if you will, effluent into the field. Now, the thing about advanced treatment is you can reduce your field size by almost half, if not more. So, but a good rule of thumb is say half. So that's a huge deal. I think that's a huge deal. And the other thing is that a lot of these advanced treatments also have denitrification to them. So that's even a better deal. So I am looking at putting I have a client that wants to put a septic system out on Long Island. And we're in the middle of a big lake. But advanced treatment gives me the opportunity to do that. And it's not the first time that we've used advanced treatment on Long Island to allow somebody to put a septic system out there and not swim in it, so to speak. So,
I have a follow-up question, I guess, as well. Obviously, when we get a new plat to discuss, it comes with an engineering study as required that says the soil conditions allow for, et
got
cetera.
one in my,
Right.
I came with one.
What is the process if a septic system fails and has to be redone in terms of an engineering analysis and certification or inspection?
Just did one up on Willowfish Hook. We did the process, operating procedure, if you will, standard for me is to dig a test hole, evaluate the soils and water and impermeable layers. Based on that, I make a decision on what I want to do for the field. It's either going to be a bed or some type of trench, or there's a hybrid in there. It's called a 5-wide.
Is there any like submission required to the borough at that point, or is it really up to the homeowner to follow the rules?
For single family conventional septic systems, or even non-conventional, as long as you have an engineer, there's no, the submittal is when I'm done. And there's sometimes I think that that's getting the horse in front of the cart, but that's now the new rules. The other thing is that when you go over 2,500 gallons of effluent in on a piece of property, then triggers an EPA Class 5 injection well permit. I've enjoyed this. It's been a long time since I've been in front of y'all. I'm not dead, as John Wayne said. Still around. All right, thank you. Do I turn this off?
Thank you. Any other public testimony?
If anyone is online, please press *3 if you'd like to speak, and we will unmute your line and give you some time to speak.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Ellery Gibbs. I am against this. I have been working for surveying companies for a number of years doing subdivisions. I don't see that this is beneficial to the subdivision process. We already have 40,000 square feet. We have the opportunity to do 20,000 or less than 40,000 square feet if you're going to do a community system. This 30,000 square feet with the caveat that it has to be single-family home. We need to, instead of doing this, something needs to be done on the multifamily development. A single-family residence or a duplex on 40,000 square feet would be the proper way of doing this, and forcing a higher standard or a larger lot for multifamily above 2 units is something that should be done instead of this. If we go to 30,000 square feet, we're going to end up getting more and more and more. So if I've got a lot that is 120,000 square feet, currently I can get 3 40,000 square foot lots. Now, if we change it to this, that makes 4. I now have 1 additional well. I have 1 additional septic system on the property compared to what I have already. I am seeing a trend. I'm hearing a trend from people that I'm talking with around the valley that are current homeowners that are having issues with their wells. Aquifers are not providing as much water as they used to be. And I don't have quantifiable evidence, okay? I'm not a civil engineer. I'm just going with what I am hearing and what I've seen in living in several different places around the valley. We're having more of an issue with water and wells. And we're going to have more of an issue with septics if we continue to make smaller lots, especially something like this, where we're packing more in, or we're changing the regulations, or we're changing the standards so that you can now have more, instead of leaving the standards the way that they are and changing the multifamily development. I, for one, would rather see a change in multifamily or a change in the subdivision development to requiring, if you're having more than a single family or a duplex, make the lots larger. Appreciate your time. I appreciate having the chance to speak. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any further public testimony? Oh, there's someone on the line.
If anyone online would like to speak to the public hearing, please press *3 and we will unmute your line and give you some time to talk.
Nope. Okay, I'm closing public hearing. Can I get a motion from the board?
To close public hearing?
Do we need a,
Oh.
So we can continue on, we just open.
Yep.
just open discussion?
Yeah, we just allowed the people to comment during our discussion period.
Okay.
We're still under the main motion of approving this ordinance, and we are entertaining amendments or a vote to approve it as it's.
Madam Chair, I have a few questions for staff. Alec, if you wouldn't mind. I guess at the very beginning of this proposed ordinance, it indicates that the proposed action supports the goals and objectives of the Mat-Su Borough Comprehensive Plan, and it provides some specifics. I wonder if you could help me understand how this ordinance actually is in support of policy LU 4-1, which says to identify, monitor, protect, and enhance the quantity and quality of the borough's watersheds, groundwater, and aquifers and clean air resources. How is this ordinance enhancing that?
Through the chair. Thank you for that question. That's a tricky one.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
I honestly, I want to understand that.
Sure. Yeah. Right now, we get a lot of detached fourplexes on 1 acre lots. And those typically have 4 different septic systems with one, and one well is the typical. This would be an alternative way that we could have increased density that would require a single family residence only. And as I said before, it's sort of more of an orderly type development. People have the ability to know where their neighbor's septic system and well is going to go when they actually purchase their property and are going to build on it. That's sort of the thought process behind that.
So my question would be that this does nothing to prevent that from happening. It just provides an alternative. So nothing in this ordinance does anything to eliminate the issues that we're concerned about. Would make more sense to me to deal with that ordinance directly than through this one. But
Yeah, I agree that the multifamily permitting requirements it is in need of an overhaul. But that we can expect that could come forward in a future ordinance.
so, okay. And I guess the follow-up to that is further on, it says it's in support of policy LU 4-2, which says population density standards should accommodate the natural system's ability to sustain varying density levels. And again, what's the rationale for this ordinance that supports that policy?
Yeah, so, again, I think limiting it to single family residential is the big one that will do it. That's the rationale behind that, is that this is a carrot, which we have very few carrots in the borough. We have some sticks, but not a lot of carrots. This provides a carrot if you actually were to limit a lot to single family residential. That's the rationale.
But again, nothing in this ordinance prohibits someone from building under the detached fourplex.
Somebody still can get a multifamily development permit, and really, it's a really high ceiling on how dense you can actually go with a multifamily development permit.
Yeah.
Of course, that has other protections in place within that ordinance.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yeah. Within the state of Alaska, in areas that are regulated, is there another precedent for this somewhere where they've tried it and the 30,000 square foot limit has proven to be successful, or is it anywhere else?
So that's a great question. I don't know, the 40,000 square feet lot size, I'm not sure what other municipalities have that as a standard. And then I haven't done a lot of research on what other areas have lowered to 30,000 or whatever. I know a lot of places have municipal septic or municipal sewage and water, and that allows you to go really small. But I haven't done all that research, to be honest. Yeah.
Any other questions? I just have one. So if it's zoned single-family housing, does that prohibit people from having a small business?
So we need to look at, so I think you can have like a small in-home business selling Avon or whatever it may be. But I can look up the specific rules. It's in your packet, 1775, starting on page 103. And it has permitted uses, conditional uses, and prohibited uses. Oh. So you can, as a permitted use, you could have a home occupation as defined in this chapter. So that's page 112 of your packet. And then there are no conditional uses. And then as far as prohibited uses, it's anything not specifically permitted. So you basically can have single family residential, you can have an accessory dwelling unit, and then, and there's provisions on that, on how big it can be. And it looks like home occupations, but if you wanted to put a cookie shop, I don't think you could do that.
So what's the fundamental difference between what's already allowed in code, where you could have a 30,000 square foot lot, and this one?
So you're saying if you can have like using the open space requirement?
The open space, yes.
Yeah. I mean, the big one is you have to zone it single family residential, obviously. That's a big one. And then the other one is you have to delineate on your plat where the well and septic are going to be. And then have an engineer say that that area is suitable for that.
Mr. Wagner.
To the chair, Fred Wagner, planning officer. Mostly correct, but on, in order to get to 30,000, the other option to get to 30,000 square feet we were talking about was the open space. And in open space, you do have to show on the reduced lots where the septic is. So it's not a lot different. The difference would be that in an open space, you have to provide open space. So there's the area that you're getting smaller is becoming park or general use for the subdivision owners. Most likely the borough is not going to accept it as park. So there's the other difference on how they get to 30,000 square feet using open space.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner. Any other questions?
Well, yeah, I guess following up on that, if this ordinance passes as written, it basically wipes out the section on open space. Either that or it needs substantial rework, because the open space says that if you provide open space, you can reduce the minimum square footage by 25%. So if the minimum square footage is 30, now we're talking about substantially less than that for the open space. Correct?
So the way I've understood is you would be able to pick either or, but you're saying that you could compound it. You could do open space.
There's nothing in the ordinance that says I can't also apply the open space permitting process.
Okay, so I will say that's not the intent, and I think that is a great thing to bring up, and perhaps some sort of requirement that says you got to pick either one. You don't get to compound the two.
Why would you ever pick open space?
Yeah, if you don't want to zone it single family residential, that would be the reason why you'd pick that option.
Okay.
And if my understanding is that open space usually is when you have an unusable portion of your lot, it's a little swamp or whatever, that's what get designated as open space. So that could still very much be a viable option for some developers.
It has to be usable space, though. From what I just read today, unusable space can be added to it, but the open space has to be usable, correct?
I believe open space doesn't, it has a, let me see, you know what, instead of just believing, how about I pull it up?
Yep. It's on page 33 of the
It is.
subdivision title.
You have it on yours?
No.
I was going to look at the open space, thank you. Area, open space is exclusive.
Starting down here.
Well, that's actually, I'm thinking of utility lot. Yeah, you're right. That's the lot. Yeah, it says that it actually doesn't, usable open space doesn't have usable septic. It's 2 feet to water. So it just has to, it has to have, yeah, it's not, it won't have usable septic. It is not required to. So it could be what we would mostly consider an unusable, it's not usable for septic systems.
Well, it's not usable for a resident. What's the purpose of the open space? To have like a park? It's to connect to other paths to go in different places?
The open space, where we've seen it used, it hasn't been used often, but we actually, we have used it. One of the developers, he likes to provide a park. He finds that it makes his development, his lot sell faster because he's got amenities in the subdivision that people can use. So, different developers want to do different things to make, to make their lots sellable and quickly. Because really in the game, you want your lots on the market and out of your pocket and off your books as fast as you can. If you can make them more sellable by spending what you think is a reasonable amount of money to do so, we give you those options. The open space is largely used just for that, to add a park to a subdivision. And the developer that we've had use them, he says that he gets a lot of rave reviews about his developments, and the people that buy them often comment that's why they selected their development. So.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner. Any other questions? Carla? No? Well, do you have a question? We can talk about that.
Well, so if you put in these neighborhoods with these smaller lots, what if an HOA comes in and says, no, you can't have a hair salon or whatever in, I mean, that wouldn't really work out, or really say that you could have a business in your home.
Yeah, so Alex Strawn, planning director. So I think that with if it's zoned single family residential, I don't think you'd be able to put a hair salon in there unless it falls in a definition of home occupations. But the bottom line is, when it comes to private covenants, homeowners associations, the borough, as you well know, does not get involved in that. If a neighborhood wants to further restrict themselves, they are able to do that, and that's not part of the borough's purview.
Any other questions? I don't see any. Thank you, Alex.
I'll be here.
Anybody else? Okay, so I can close public hearing. Nobody's online, right?
Yeah, we're still.
You're in discussion. Okay. Well, personally, I'm against this new ordinance. I think there's other things we need to work on first that are more important. I don't see how this is a benefit to society, and I think it should be left alone. I don't see anything wrong with the open space ordinance that, or code that we have. To keep it simple, that's all I got to say about it.
I would sort of echo those comments, and I think part of my concern is that the stated reason for this ordinance is to correct a potential problem with another ordinance. And if you want to correct that problem, do it through that ordinance, not this one. I understand that this would be an alternative, but I also think that the ordinance is lacking in clarification on how does it work with the open space requirements And it also probably changes the lot and block design regulations that are based on 40,000 square feet in terms of dimensions, and it's moot on that. And I think it's pretty sloppy to create an ordinance that then creates questions in two other sections. I think that the stated objective of wanting to have denser populations is certainly a good consideration for the borough. There's a lot of fiscal, financial reasons to have densification, but there are options for that already in terms of alternative water systems, community water, or other things. And so I think this ordinance is really lacking a lot of clarity and trying to solve one problem indirectly when they should just go solve that problem. It's my thought.
Well said. Any comments? Mr. Gilson?
I've just been kind of listening, and I agree with your points of view very much, and I'm agreeing with them about the water. I'm constantly hearing water issues on this board here, and I don't see this thing helping us very much, and it makes a bigger mess, as far as I can tell from what we're hearing, so I don't like it either.
Thank you, Mr. Gilson. Carla? Any-
Yeah, I'm against it, and I agree with him completely. Michael as well.
All right. Mr. Leaving.
Well, I guess rather than just being moot on the issue, as Alex pointed out to us at the last the hearing, that we should come forward with something, a resolution, rather than just saying we don't support it. And I'm going to suggest that we maybe take a brief recess and maybe craft some amendments to the motion on the table that can be presented to the board in support of what I'm hearing from everyone. You know, that we oppose this ordinance and the whys, and then we can potentially vote on that. Similar to what we did a few meetings ago, to craft the resolution that said, please postpone action on this.
Okay. Should we do a recess? Okay, let's do a 15-minute recess. I can just do a recess.
You certainly, the chair has the ability to just call a recess. However, I've just mentioned you can't all work with Fred on this, because otherwise you sort of have a meeting outside of the meeting. So it'd be best to have a point of contact, like one person that's working with Fred on coming up with findings of fact, or your logic for not recommending approval.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to call a recess. We will come back at 1:59.
A lot of us agree with that statement.
I don't like the idea at all. I don't think we should have it at all. I think it should be off the table completely. It's just going to cost problems for the younger generation.
chit-chatting. Okay, so what do we got, Fred?
Okay, if you will look at your screens, we assume the beginning of the ordinance changed from recommending to.
Actually, I think we need a motion for
Oh,
an
that's-
amendment.
Well, this is what we're proposed. I mean, this is what we've put together.
Okay, that's
So I'm
fine.
just showing, we added the word denial instead of approval here in the opening. And kept the body that explained what it was doing. And began changing here after the proposed ordinance also amends section 145.100 to, whereas the planning board does not agree that the proposed standards support the goals and objectives of the Matanuska-Susitna Borough Comprehensive Plan, specifically Goal LU1-1, protect the public safety, health, and welfare of borough residents, nor LU4-1 to protect and enhance the quality of the borough's watersheds, groundwater, aquifers, and clean air, nor does it address stated concerns for population density standards created by detached fourplex developments. And whereas the proposed ordinance creates a conflict or confusion with 4320.081E Open Space Initiative and potential concern with section 43.20.300B1 Lot and Block Design, now therefore it be resolved the Matanuska-Susitna Borough Platting Board hereby recommends denial of Assembly Ordinance 25-102. And that was the gist of what we added.
So we would need a motion on the floor to accept this as an amendment, correct?
Yes.
Madam Chair, I move to amend the ordinance as just read by Mr. Wagner and place it on the floor for discussion.
Can I get a second?
I second the motion.
Thank you, Carla. Discussion? I think we already talked about it. Is there anything, does it sound good?
So we're denying, is that essentially what we're saying here?
We're recommending to the assembly to deny, because we don't have the authority to actually make any changes, but they've come to us and asked us to provide a resolution, and our resolution is that we would recommend denying the ordinance for the reasons stated.
I guess the one that I'm thinking about is we had one idea of a 30-foot section on that one there. I guess what I'm curious, can we put in there is like, if you don't listen to our recommendation, can we put in this, add this 130-foot situation on that as well, in case you don't agree with us, then maybe you can agree with our 130-foot. I don't know how to say that in a legal way. That, you know, we don't want to do it, but if you're going to do it anyways, maybe have this 130-foot, make it more square on the plot size than the 60-foot, 65-foot. I can't remember what the number is current. I don't know. I'm just trying to have a backup to the backup.
I can appreciate the sentiment there, but I don't see that that's necessary personally. I don't know how the other board members feel about adding that.
We could, through the chair, Fred Wagner, planning officer, the board could add more whereases that say, whereas, the planning board realizes that they are not making a decision of whether this will be denied or approved. If the assembly chooses to approve, the planning board recommends addressing the following concerns or something. If that's, I think that's what you're talking about there. If,
Yeah,
and then,
I would almost,
but I'm just helping
yeah,
flesh out.
I'm kind of brainstorming your ideas, and I'm wondering if we might add a statement that says, if additions or corrections or additional proposed ordinance changes are in order, the plating board is more than willing and able to review those specifically or something like that. I don't know if we'll ever get a second bite at it after this, but
I think what he's saying is Ms. Krieger's statements, her lot size and driveway size and the road size. I think that's what he's getting at, is add in what she proposed.
We did lightly touch on that. We just didn't spell it out specifically in the second whereas, where we talked about that the ordinance creates a conflict or confusion with 4320-081 and 4320-300. That's kind of what those were saying without saying specifically or putting exact numbers on what we would think would happen or what would be required. So I think we kind of touched on it. We just didn't flesh it out very well. If you want to see more fleshed out, then that would be what we would do there.
I don't know. It seems, the board is pretty firm on not being agreeable to this. I don't really, should we go back and forth like that?
I almost feel like if they listen to our concerns and address some of them and bring another ordinance back to us, then we can look at the specifics of it. But I'm not sure I want to tell them the legislation that they should propose. I'm saying what you've got is inadequate. We don't agree with your basic assumptions, and that's the plating board's position.
Keep it simple, too.
Yeah, we're not trying to rewrite all the rules for you. We're just pointing out where we believe the rules that you've brought to us to approve or to, stamp are inadequate.
I agree with what you're saying there.
Okay, is there anything else to add? Okay. So can I get a motion? We have the motion? Okay. Okay. So the amendment first.
So we're voting on the denial. The
The
changes we
changes
just
that
put
we
in here.
just made.
Okay.
Okay, so a yes vote would be approving the amendments that we just made. Okay, so can we does anybody object to the amendments that we just created? Okay, seeing none, the amendments pass. Okay, okay, I get things backwards, so help me with this, with the motion.
Back to the main motion.
So we're back on the main motion, so a yes,
Discussion, or would you like to vote?
okay.
At this point, other members could certainly propose amendment, or if there is no. Yeah, I was just, sorry, I was just saying at this point, it's certainly open for additional amendments from the board if somebody wants to add something to it. If not, then, and the discussion appears to be over, then as the chair, you simply can call for, is there any objection?
Okay, is there any further discussion on the main motion? Any further amendments?
So as they're worded here, that's what we're saying now.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so any further discussion? Further amendments? No. Are there any objections to the main motion? Okay, main motion passes. Okay. So we have no other business, and I can close the meeting now, or?
Captain officer comments.
Oh, yeah.
I will, Fred Wagner, Platting Officer, just want to let you know, we have 4 cases tomorrow. And we will back here doing the same thing a little bit differently. So thank you everyone for your participation and your patience. Ms. Smith, do you have anything?
No comment.
Mr. Liebing?
I guess I would just like to congratulate the board. I think that we have taken our responsibilities in this matter really seriously, and everybody gave a lot of consideration to it, and I'm proud of our actions today. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Liebing. Ms. McBride, any comments?
No comment.
Mr. Gilson?
I agree with the previous comments. Thank you.
And I thank you to the board members that showed today, and good work. This meeting is adjourned at 2:11 PM.